Hello and welcome back to the Frugal Granny channel. My name's Ali and I'm Frugal Granny. I'm an almost 65-year-old semi-retiree trying to make the best of what I've got between having left my career ladder or office job in the spring and getting my state pension in July 2027. Today is Thursday, it's Coffee and Catch Up 22, and on Thursdays we generally have a financial roundup of the week that's just passed. If you're new, you're very welcome here. It's lovely to see you. And if you're a returning viewer, it's lovely to see you too. And thank you so much for all your comments over the last week. I've tried to keep up with as many of them as I can. And I have made note of those things that you've asked me to cover in future videos. Anyway, so let's get right into it. What has happened on the financial front over the last week? I think where we left things last week, there were two main issues. One of them was car breakdown cover, and the other one was the anticipation of allocating my supermarket paycheck to try and play catch up with all the expenses that I had a few weeks ago pertaining to family and just overbuying. Let's be honest, let's call it what it is. I just spent too much on things that I probably shouldn't have spent money on. Before we go any further, just let me say that the noise you can hear in the background is my two pugs snoring, or particularly my youngest one, Bella. She is making a terrible noise, and if you're a pug owner, you will know you cannot go anywhere without a flotilla of pugs around you. So I'm just sorry, I can't edit it out. We'll just have to put up with it. Okay, so the AA, or Automobile Association Breakdown and Recovery quote for my renewal came in last week, and I told you that I think that it had come in at about £230. I don't have the paperwork on me at the moment. I'm not quite sure what I've done with it. Probably binned it if I've got any sense, or maybe I've tucked it in here. No, don't know what I've done with it. Maybe I've filed it in my big desk tidy up. You can see that my desk is looking pretty tidy. I'll have to have a look in the filing cabinet later. But anyway, it came in at around £230, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I just want to thank all of those people in the comments who suggested what I could do about that. The first thing that I have done is go onto the Automobile Association website, and I've pretended that I'm a new applicant, and incredibly that has reduced the amount of money I would need to pay considerably. So I've got the option of perhaps ringing them up and using that as a negotiation point. The other thing that I have done is I've been quite brave, stepped outside my comfort zone, and after 42 years with the AA, I've actually looked at Green Flag, and I can get equivalent cover with Green Flag for a third of the price that I can with the AA. So I've not done anything about it yet because I'm waiting for my new credit card period to start, which will happen after the weekend. So I'm going to do my main research at the weekend, make a decision, then phone up the AA. I will have a talk with them. Then I will make a firm decision about who I actually go with, whether it's the AA, if they can give me a good offer and help me retain my 42 years of cover, or whether I go with a company like Green Flag. Once I've made the decision, I will put the cost of the renewal on my credit card. And the reason I do that is because it's easier than making a payment directly out of my car sinking fund. So I will put it on my credit card. I'll leave it to sit there as long as I can without it incurring interest, and then I will pay it off from my car sinking fund, the sinking fund that I put money in every month to pay for anything pertaining to the running of my car, and the amount I put in every month is £100. So that's the breakdown cover update. Now, I think the thing that everybody's probably been tuning in for today is the allocation of my supermarket paycheck. I've explained before that to help bridge the gap between the 3 pension annuities that I have, which in total come in at £400 net, which hardly covers my, well, it does not cover my utility bills once all's said and done. So to help bridge the gap between my annuities, the value of my annuities, and my monthly outgoings, I have a part-time job at a supermarket. I'm contracted for 21.75 hours, but I usually pick up a couple of extra overtime shifts as well. So when I work it out, I'm probably doing about a 0.8 full-time equivalent job, even though I deem myself to be semi-retired. But we'll talk about that again another time, because I think I could go down a bit of introspective rabbit hole there, and that's not what Thursdays are about. Anyway, tomorrow, Friday, the 10th of October, is supermarket payday, but we do get access to our pay slips from midnight on Wednesday, in other words, from first thing Thursday. So late last night, as usual, I logged on and I looked at my pay slip, and I was really very happy. I was practically right about what my pay would be. As I said before, I was expecting it to be slightly bumped up because I would have had a week of holiday pay in that pay period, and the holiday pay changes depending on how much overtime you've done in that month. So I actually ended up with, I think, about £30 more than I'd anticipated, because I still don't know how they work out holiday pay, but £30 more than I'd anticipated, and that was fine. I've been through the pay slip line by line like I do every month, cross-referenced it with my spreadsheet, because I keep a spreadsheet of all the hours that I do and how much that each of those shifts should bring me, and I total it up. So I do a comparison at the end of every 4-week period, and it was spot on, which is absolutely great. And thank you again to Tracy, who a couple of weeks ago told me that she thought that HMRC were just applying the regular personal tax allowance to my supermarket paycheck. And again, I've plugged the figures into a tax calculation website using that data, and it's come out the same. So I think that is what they are doing. And so any reconciliation for monies owed is actually going to have to wait now until April next year. And I'm fine with that. As long as I know where I am fine. I do also need to say that I max out my pension at the supermarket. I contribute 7.5% of my pay, and that gets matched by the supermarket. But we'll talk again a little bit about pensions on Saturday, I think, which has been prompted by a question from another viewer, which is basically, what do I see myself doing once I get my state pension? Well, we'll talk about that on Saturday, I think. So my actual net pay this month was £1,332.64. Now, I'd already made an allocation on my finance spreadsheet about how I intended to allocate that, and I've managed to cover everything I anticipated and have a little bit to spare, which is absolutely fantastic. So let me go through it with you. There'll be no surprises there for some of my regular viewers, but for some of the new ones, there may be a few questions, and I'll try and answer those along the way. Right, the first thing that I have done is I've allocated £800 to my monthly living allowance, and that will go straight into my buffer fund after midnight tonight. As soon as we hit Friday and that money hits my bank account, £800 will be going straight into my buffer fund. Some of you may be asking, what is my buffer fund? Basically, it's something that I have set up to help me iron out the bumps between having 3 monthly annuity payments coming in and a 4 weekly supermarket paycheck. Those 4 streams of income don't align. So I have created this buffer fund to put the money in so that I can pay myself one combined living allowance at the beginning of every calendar month. If you want to see how that works in more detail, I will link the buffer fund video in the top right hand corner. It's a bit complicated, but I am making it work, and it's probably just a reflection of how my mind works. Not everybody's mind works the same, so it might not work for you, but I do know that some people have found it quite helpful. All right, well, after that, I had to borrow some money from my buffer fund to pay for my new spectacles, my new glasses. These are not my new spectacles. These are my supermarket ones that I tend to wear for screen work and when I'm knocking around the house and I don't want to damage my expensive ones. So I had to put £300 back in the buffer fund. Now, last week I did say that £300 was all for glasses. Well, I did fib a little bit, because 250 was for glasses and £50 was for extra petrol that I spent running around after my family in that rather busy week that I had the week before last. But in total, £300 needs to go back in the buffer fund, £250 to cover the balance of the payment on my spectacles, and £50 to cover the excess petrol. So that's that. Okay, now we get into shady territory when you begin to realise that I'm a woman who can't resist a bargain most of the time. Yes, I spent £18 on reduced price barbecue charcoal. This is the problem when you work in a supermarket and people come through the till and you think, oh my goodness, that's an amazing bargain. And you decide that you've got to have it too. Well, this chap came in and he bought some bags of barbecue charcoal that were in the foyer. They were marked up at full price, but when he put them through the self-serve till, he queried it, and I went over, and it turned out that they were coming up at half price. And he said, oh my goodness, he said, I'm a really keen barbecue enthusiast. I'm going to take all this shopping out to the car, and I'm coming back and I'm filling my trolley up with barbecue charcoal. And he did. He came back in, and I've never seen anyone buy so much barbecue charcoal. I thought to myself, well, yeah, I could probably put a little bit away for next summer. So the next day I came in and I bought 4 bags, and they were half price, and I managed to get staff discount on that as well. So I ended up with 4 really big bags of barbecue charcoal for £18. And those bags are in my outhouse, but mine are waiting for next summer. But I did think that was a good deal, because the charcoal I bought over the summer when the family were visiting, it was pretty steep, for me anyway, for my budget. And I thought that if I could anticipate next summer's needs and get at least 50% off, then that would be good. So £18 on barbecue charcoal, which is now paid for. Then, and I'm not going into details about this, I had to put an amount on my credit card to help fund the family emergency that I was dealing with a couple of weeks ago, and that was £20.70, and that's now paid off. And then while I'd got my sons with me, I'd got 2 of my sons with me that weekend, I splurged on an extra large chicken and some nice vegetables and some fancy Yorkshire puddings, and that cost £27.20. Anyway, I could afford to do that this one time. I thought, I don't have my sons with me often. I'll buy an extra large chicken and we'll have a lovely Sunday lunch, and we did, and I'm paying for that now. And then I think I talked about this in one of my Monday magazines. I had a 15% off coupon for coffee, and so I stocked up on ground coffee, enough to last me through to the new year. And that was £37.95, and that's now paid off. Then I'm going to put £50 towards paying myself back for the money I gave to Bella's previous owner as her purchase. Bella cost me £200. I will be quite honest about that. and I want to try and put that money back in that pot. So I'm going to use some of the surplus from this supermarket paycheck to do that. So £50 is going back to pay myself back for Bella. So I will try and recoup the other £150 as I go, but I may not be able to. But this month I can do that, and so I will. And then after putting that money towards repaying myself for Bella, I need to put some money into my buffer fund to make up for the potential deficit on my YouTube earnings for September that will be paid towards the end of this month, October, and will go towards my November living allowance. My YouTube earnings are such that after I have paid a month's instalment on the new laptop that I'm going to be getting, after I've paid for the gooseneck iPad attachment that I got for the trip to IKEA and then it didn't fit on the trolley, but we'll be using it for other things. After I've paid for those and then I've paid the tax on the balance, I'm going to be £51 down on the £300 I like to allocate to my monthly living allowance in the buffer fund. I'll only be able to put £249 into the buffer fund. So I'm going to top that up in anticipation from my supermarket salary with £51. And that leaves me with £27.79. Big question, what am I going to do with that? Well, as if I haven't learnt my lesson, overspending on bargains, I am still weighing up whether or not to take advantage of the pet food offer that the supermarket have got on at the moment. Bella came with some rather expensive branded pet food, and we've now finished that, and it turns out that Kitty really likes that pet food, and Kitty's getting really old now. I mean, she's 12 3/4, she's lost most of her teeth. It's quite hard to get her to eat, and it was lovely to see her eating these wet dog food sachets, which, yeah, they're expensive compared to what my dogs were eating when they were younger or when my late dog was alive. And I do have a few tins of that left, and I tried it out on Bella the other day, and even she's not keen on it. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to move away from the cheaper tinned dog food onto this branded dog food. And so I'm still weighing that up. And with this £27, I could get 2 boxes of 40 pouches. Now there's an offer on at the moment for buy 4 get one free or something like that. So if I then push myself to afford a third one, which I could do out of what's left of my discretionary spending for October, then I could get a box free. So I could end up with 160 wet dog food pouches, which would keep me going for a while. So that's where I'm going with this at the moment, and especially as it is supermarket colleague payday discount as well this weekend, which means I get an extra 5% discount. So if I'm going to do this with the dog food, I've got to do it this weekend, and I think that's probably where I'm gonna go, and I will fill you in with that on Magazine Monday on Monday and let you know whether I did it or not. But I probably will. Because I know I'm going to kick myself afterwards if I don't. I have done the maths on it, and I could save quite a lot of money by taking advantage of the 4 for 3 and the 15% staff discount this weekend. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Where the rubber hits the road is the fact that I think the loyalty card scheme has twigged the fact that I like cheese and sent me another voucher. Yeah, I know, I'm really fighting that one. But again, if I'm going to do anything with it, it's going to have to be done this weekend. So, as I said the other Monday, or was it the other week? A bargain's not a bargain if you can't afford it. So I am trying to listen to my own advice, but I think I'm going to get the pet food, and I might get a little bit of cheese, just a little bit. I don't have to get a certain amount of packets. I just have to spend £3. And to be honest with you, it's really easy to spend £3 on cheese now. Cheese is super expensive. Anyway, so that's me at the moment. I will be moving money around in the early hours of the morning. I've got an overtime shift tomorrow, and once I've finished that, I shall probably be grabbing a trolley and filling it with 4 cases of pet food and a bit of cheese. And then on Saturday, I think I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my plans for the future, well, as best as I can, in response to the viewer question. And then on Magazine Monday, you can see some of the things I've been getting up to over the last week or so, in my kitchen and in my garden and in my life in general. But anyway, thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Don't go overspending like I'm probably about to do. And so I think I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you on Saturday. Saturday at 6 o'clock, and then we've got Magazine Monday on Monday. But until then, I will just give you a quick shot of the dogs. They're asleep and snoring again. I'm sorry, but that really is mainly all they do.